an orphan who created Rolex. Hans Wilsdorf was born in Bavaria, Germany in 1881 to a successful middle-class family of ironmongers. At the age of 12, circumstances made young Hans an orphan. His charge was given to an aunt and uncle who promptly placed him in a boarding school in Korbach, Germany. One day, Hans decided he had had enough and left the boarding school for Geneva, Switzerland. He found a job working for a pearl merchant. Ultimately, Hans Wilsdorf got a job with a growing watch company in Switzerland. While at the watch company, Hans became fascinated with the watch movements and their accuracy. Hans later found a partner, Alfred Davis, and together they opened their own watch company, Wilsdorf and Davis. Hans convinced a small watch movement manufacturer in Switzerland to produce watches for him small enough to wear on the wrist. He decided he needed a much catchy name for his watches other than Wilsdorf and Davis. So in 1908, he came up with his new name, Rolex. In 1914, Rolex was the first wristwatch in history to be awarded a A-class A certificate from the KEW Observatory, an institution noted for its accurate measurements. In 1926, Hans Wilsdorf added a new level of distinction to his watches. He made the watch waterproof and called it the Oyster. Rolex had invented the waterproof wristwatch, advertised as the Wonder Watch. In 1933, a Rolex watch was on the wrist of the first expedition to fly over the Everest without losing reliability. In 1945, the brand released an innovative model, the Rolex Datejust, which was at the time the first model to be able to indicate the time and the day at the same time in an automatic way. In 1954, Rolex released the Rolex GMT Master, allowing the reading of two different time zones on the same dial. This model of watch was highly appreciated by airline pilots who could keep permanently a time zone of their choice. A year later, Rolex released a new collection in 1957, the first wristwatch model dedicated to women, the Lady Datejust, a watch with a much smaller diameter but just as precise as other models of the brand. The year 1960 was a year full of surprises but also of disappointments for the Rolex brand. Its founder, Hans Wilsdorf, died that year, and the management was handed over to Andre Heiniger. Upon Mr. Hans Wilsdorf's death in 1960, he owned all of Rolex, and the company today is still privately held and overseen by the Hans Wilsdorf Foundation, which is a charitable organization.